Oh, my friends, welcome to Friday. Anytime with Ken and Alden and a Superman. I'm Ken. How are you, Alden?
I'm good. I'm feeling a lot of truth, a lot of justice.
Yeah.
And not so much the American way.
Not so much the American way.
But he does not drop that in this movie. That's a non-spoiler for you. We do, but there's a lot of America in the movie, but we'll talk about it. Right up top, anyone that's concerned, JMB, necessary question here. Yeah, so like, will there be a spoiler review? We will have on screen when we do spoiler talk, which will be later.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid it. We know that it's early on a Friday here for me in the West Coast, midday for you. You know, most people see the weekend pictures. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, family. Grab the family for a Sunday. So we understand not everyone's sweaty, seeing it at midnight or early like you, or 2 weeks early like me because I'm an a-hole.
That's true.
But we're here, buddy. We're here. Look up, says Dave McKay. Look up indeed.
Look up indeed. You know, grab the nearest dog. Tell him he's a good boy. This is a very pro-dog movie.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to discuss in general. I mean, before we even get into the movie, we'll touch on a couple things off air. Ken and I were talking about such important topics as dumb podcasters and eating breakfast. So, you know, the usual fare. The usual fare for us. I just ate, honestly, dude. I will talk about what I just ate. I just ate thank you, music, for cutting right as I was about to get into the important
it's like when you start speaking loudly in a bar and the jukebox stops. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once you're about to start saying the most dirty deets about whatever it is that happened, you know, suddenly you have to switch to like Nora Jones.
Right.
But yeah, so I just ate a sandwich, guys. It was Swiss provolone, some salami on toasted sourdough. This sandwich
toasted, huh? Okay.
Very lightly toasted sourdough.
Toasted.
You can't toast sourdough too much. I'm talking the lowest setting. Basically heating bread and adding just a wee bit of crunch.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. I don't enjoy my hot sandwiches for lunch. I'm a cold deli meats guy. But I like it. I like what you're selling. If you put that down in front of me, I'd eat it.
So let's steal something from the great Stephen Colbert. He does the Colbert questionnaire, and in that is always, what is the best sandwich? So Ken Apsock, in as much or as little detail as you want, what is the best sandwich?
It's pretty simple to me. Lettuce, tomato, American, actually pepper jack, pickles. I love the crunch and taste of pickles. And then the meats can change if I'm going meat, but usually a ham turkey combo. Light on the mayo, mustard, whatever seasonings you got, salt and pepper, oil and vinegar, Mike's Way, whatever you're giving me, and extra seasonings or sauces, I'm going to take. And that's pretty much it. Simple. And big wheat bread, prefer wheat bread on a deli sandwich. And that's it for me. Simple, man. That's my final meal, too, if you kill me. If you walk me down the dead man road. Yep.
That's what you would request? You wouldn't throw in any, like, specific, like, give me the candy from when I was a little boy, like on the side, like.
No. And look, omelets are in the running. A wedge salad is a side. You know, a garlic cheese toast and wedge salad from Smokehouse would be in there. But if it's my final meal, I'm on death row. Just give me a gigantic sandwich. I'll be happy. Be thrilled.
And this sandwich that you're describing, it could be made at a variety of places, or is there one location that you're thinking about?
You almost can't go wrong with sandwiches unless you're going to put rye bread, like Tully says. That is how you ruin life, not just a sandwich. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. gas station sandwiches I've made kind of my identity, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking Jersey Mike's. I don't go to Jimmy John's anymore on account of it killing the animals. Even though I'm eating meat in this scenario,
Sure.
we're all an ocean of contradictions. Subway, I like Subway. I don't care if they're yoga mats in my sandwich. I like them. Give me them. Take
Sure.
them anywhere you got.
Yeah,
There's a place
I'm
down
down.
the street I like. I won't give the name because you all know where I live. It's an independent owned one, so you're like, oh, let me go there. They're assholes. They're complete assholes in there. Every time I'm in there, they've treated me like a schmuck, so I don't go back. I go to the corporate spaces, and I hope they knock them out of business.
Okay. All right. There it is.
Hope the family's life savings are tossed away because they're fucking asshole employees.
I wish nothing but ill on their whole dynasty.
I hope Jeff Bezos opens
Dan
up
asks-
Amazon sandwiches right next to him.
right across the way. Dan has mayo. It was a little bit of butter, but in general, I do like mayo. Well, we have a lot of.
You like mayo.
I've had the
Producer
same Subway
Steve-
order since I was 9. Share
Yeah,
the order.
producer Steve does not like mayo, which I question that too. I get it, but I question.
Salami. Yeah, I'm a cured meats person. So to answer the question myself, there is a place in Pembroke Pines, Florida. I'm giving away a big secret here. First of all, downside, it requires you to go to Pembroke Pines, Florida. So that's and just be in Florida.
That's the thing.
So that's unfortunately the price you have to pay. It's a place called the Vienna Cafe and Bistro. It's owned by this delightful British woman, and she is just so many details. There's a grand piano in there. They do high tea on Sundays. Like it's like
High
a legit
testosterone. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bunch of guys come in. No,
Bunch of alpha males in trucks.
this sandwich. So on a hot French baguette, you get some carved turkey, some about as thin as you could possibly slice it, a Granny Smith apple slices. Some
Like a
brie
good country
cheese.
sandwich. That's country strong.
Yeah. Some brie cheese in there. And so again, guys, turkey, apple, brie cheese, and then like some like fruit chutney that you could like dip it in. Now, you can do obviously the soup and sandwich, but because I was cool with the waiters, because I always get in with the staff of a place that I like. I learn names, I chat them up, I become a classic regular. They would let me do, which they're not supposed to do, a ravioli instead of a soup. So I would have that sandwich with like a half portion of like lobster ravioli on the side. Y'all, stop playing. Incredible.
You've thought it through.
I think about
I
it.
respect your sandwich.
I think
I
about
respect that sandwich.
all the time. I think about that sandwich as much, if not more, than I think about sex.
Oh, as I approach 50, yeah, sandwiches always come first. Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's no.
Ken's
need
like,
for
I
things.
crossed that bridge a long time ago.
I was talking to somebody. It's like, yeah, that's great. I've done that. Give me a sandwich. I've been through all that before. Let's get a sandwich.
And sometimes when the stars align, you can have both in one night. And those.
Oh yeah. Pump,
Those are
roll
the
off, make a
greatest
sandwich.
nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
indeed. Pump up, roll off, make a sandwich is going to be your next special. Everything you say could be the title of a special. That's what I've learned.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely what it is.
There's
Absolutely.
constant titles happening. We
Lots
have
of
Steve's order.
Steve's order.
Before we continue, Steve's order. Herbs and cheese bread, correct. That's the best bread at Subway. Pepperoni, shredded mozz, extra lettuce, onion, oil and vinegar, salt and pepper, oregano, not toasted. Interesting.
Yeah, the toasted's controversial. I don't do the toasted. I like, French dip or something like that. We've been through this. Every time I say I don't like toasted, people throw a list of 15 sandwiches that I would end up liking because they're hot. But generally speaking, cold, baby.
Sure.
Cold like my soul.
We have
Cold
an important
like
question here from a new viewer, I believe. Cinema Skin says, "Why is the guy with the beard wearing eyeliner?" No, he just looks like that. He just has nice eyelashes.
Luscious
Just has luscious
lashes
eyelashes.
that have been coveted for years by many people in my life.
Yeah. As a fellow long eyelashes man, it does get pointed out your entire life, in my experience.
Since I was a wee little lad.
Yep.
A wee little
Everyone.
lad. Hanging out
Everyone
with
around me
David
would point it
Mackay, who sounds nothing like this.
Oh, David. Little David.
A lot to get to. We're going to talk a lot about Superman. Like I said, if we feel we're getting into the spoilers because we have been blessed to see it already, some folks are going to see it on the weekend. We'll throw up a thing. We'll throw up a thing there to let you all know. But we're just talking vibes, lessons, the reception, the politics of it, the themes, everything that we enjoy. We love this film. It's been a lot of fun seeing a lot of other people enjoy it as well, saying it's a film that they need. Dave McKay says, I don't need to put up with this. Now I'm making it now he's Eastern European. It's a whole thing. Michael McCarson said, I love the movie. This was a wonderfully sincere and earnest film that I really needed. I agree with that there. The earnesty, the heartfelt nature. The right amount of reverence for the genre, but also respect for the genre was a good mix for me as well. A lot to talk about. We can get into it now. We can get into it later. What else is on your mind? You tell me, youngin.
Yeah, I mean, there are things. Obviously, you know, this show as it is, we cover life, we cover the world, we cover politics and everything, and it's like, we could probably do like 45 minutes on some of these things, which I don't want to do. But like we should acknowledge, we had the Epstein list stuff happen over the last week, which is hilarious. And you talked about it. I'm blathering a bit, so I know you.
But this is us. This is anytime, buddy. We talk about all the big things we need to talk about. This has been an hilarious thing, and I don't want to cut you off. I'm glad you brought that up. This has been the rise, fall, and death of conspiracy theories. To see the false prophet president sitting there in the White House being like, "What? Why are you asking about Epstein? Why are all these people asking about like Epstein?" As if they weren't the ones that had absolutely been the genesis of this call for it. And I am of the opinion that I've always kind of said, he killed himself? List or no, probably nothing that he thinks on it. And this all actually tracks. I love that Patel and Bongino have left their podcast mics to actually know the truth. And now they're having to be publicly like, I know nothing there. It's hilarious, Alden. Hilarious.
It is, the Orwell quote that we all say, that we've been saying for the last 10 years of the party asked you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. Has never been more relevant, because it's not like there were whispers of this and maybe an aside and then they backtrack like they do with a lot of things. They had an entire influencer event with alt-right and conservative morons like libs of TikTok at the White House, holding what they said was the first of many binders in a photo op. So it's like, that's like, I know like everybody's been going to the Bondi quote of I have it on my desk. Yes. Like that's damning in and of itself. But you also physically had people pose with what you said it was.
Right.
So it's like it is, and then to say, oh, it's not there, and then for our fearless supreme leader to snap at reporters for daring ask about it. It's just like the mental gymnastics, like it doesn't even, there's no phrasing that I can use that adequately describes the two realities.
It's flabbergasting to me, because when you watch, this is what we kind of are up against sometimes, even in your own lives, in your own family, where just you watch this administration and those that follow them, completely lie in front of them, completely change the story, completely do what you're saying right here. Like, what list? What are you talking about? Why are you asking about that? And then you turn to your folks, you turn to your friends, and you turn to those who are still there, and you're like, do you see it? And then they just buy whatever's being sold. Like the pamphlet of one-liners and responses is handed out at a meeting.
Yeah.
What list? Why are you asking about? Why are you so focused about? Like, it's flabbergasting to have to deal with time and time again.
That's the scariest part, I think, of modern conservatism and Trumpian politics, is that it's not just that the obvious liars lie. It's that their entire base has no belief system. Like they adjust on the day. Like they adjust sometimes hour to hour, depending on what's happening, to protect somebody who just demonstrably does not care about them. Like, I don't want to make light of the floods and make it obviously, because like the primary thing about the floods is like the people that died. Always, just like the primary thing in a shooting is who got shot. But it's impossible to ignore the context. Like, you look at like Greg Abbott saying well, we don't cast blame. Like, blaming others is what losers do. And it's like, your party is casting blame. Your party just went out about how this is DEI's fault. So are you not the losers? But they can have both because we've allowed them to have both for so long. Like, we did not.
I agree.
We did not use 2020 to 2024 as enough of a punishment tour. It should have been a punishment tour. We should have like gone out of our way to make it shameful to have been a part of this at all. And instead we let them campaign for the entire time.
Yeah, it might have been a big bucket of false hope that, okay, that's over with now. There might have been that feeling, and incorrect feeling, incorrect choice.
Kids literally drown. They blame DEI and immigrants. Then their governor can say, we don't blame people, while also begging for funds that they also just cut.
And funds that, 2021, they received funds for the Biden administration and they turned it down?
Yeah.
To own the libs?
Yeah. No
protection.
No protections to own the libs. So let's sacrifice a camp full of small girls to own the libs. That's the conservative position. But it's like, they will do that. They will do that because it all goes hand in hand. It doesn't matter if it's by drowning or by sex trafficking. You're all fair game as long as it owns the libs, allegedly, in some way. Yeah. But then we go now to the libs to figure out how they're responding. Oh, they're trying to own Mamdani. That's what they're doing. That's
still
they're still focused on this.
Look, it clearly ain't working. What the vote totals came in with, the highest vote totals in history over there.
In the history of New York, the highest primary vote total ever.
Yeah, and I still contend his biggest strength is his words, his eloquence, his demeanor, and his didn't lecture, we listen kind of philosophy is I think going to catch on, because it's that thing I keep talking about, where if you could just explain or have someone hear what he actually stands for, I think you'll start to win people over, right?
Yeah.
And he, every shot fired at him from what doesn't matter, news anchors, shots from in the house from Jeffries, he's getting stronger and better.
Fetterman, went off about him today or last night or whatever, and it's like he is the right kind of go with the flow. Like, it's like, because he has like amazing comebacks when necessary, like the way he just like dog walked Cuomo, like if he has to. But he also is very good at very kindly, calmly, and intelligently saying,
yes,
that's a stupid focus. Let's focus on this. He's very good at, don't you think rich people will leave New York if you do this? And he's very like, well, let's consider they actually go to higher tax places, which is an thought that people like don't ever include in their line of questioning. So he's just an extremely prepared man. I like him so much that I went and I sought out on the Criterion channel a movie that his mother directed called Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington, and it's very, very good.
Oh yeah. I thought for a second you were going to say you so like him that you're moving to New York City, and you were announcing it today. I thought today was.
If I had the money, Ken, I would get you and I a place in New York quick.
Where we're going?
Not that you would.
I'd go
the best coast.
I mean, yeah, it's the best coast, and Burbank is my kingdom. But kingdom. There's some good sandwiches in New York, so better than the pizzas. So I'm happy to go there.
You leaving the kingdom of Burbank is much like when Ned Stark went south. It's like you leave Burbank so vulnerable without you as warden, as warden of Hollywood, the great of movie land.
Yes.
Oh boy, here we go. Update from the Brits. Charlie has acquired Oasis tickets for the reunion tour. He's going in 2 weeks.
I'm jealous. I don't get to see them this time. Not in the cards for me. So Charlie, take a lot of video. Okay, just don't even experience the concert. Just hold your phone up the entire time and send it to me.
We were on air last time when they took the stage. And then, there was a lot of, over the past week, a lot of footage of the show. As a diehard Oasis fan, I gathered that you were pretty pleased. But do you have any takes or reviews or things that made you excited about the reunion?
I did watch a lot of footage Friday and Saturday from different cell phones, and absolutely thought they were exactly what I wanted them, need them to be, and they sound wonderful. Liam sounds strong. Noel is always going to be Noel, but I love the set list. I did see someone talking about how the Oasis has successfully rebranded themselves as Remember Us from '93 to '99, and the 2009 era, which is the less successful, less quality era, but contains a ton of great songs. Some of my favorite Oasis songs are in that era, from Standing on the Shoulder of Giants and beyond. So I hope they do incorporate more of those. But I think that's also kind of like, we're going to give you the goods, and it's been working. So I'm very happy for those that didn't go see them, and those that have seen them. I can't wait. They're coming to the Rose Bowl, so maybe I can get a job at the Rose Bowl. Maybe I have enough time to get a job, maybe be a janitor and be there at the concert. That's a good plan. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to do that.
There's got to be, look, man, there's a will, there's a way. We know the radio business. We could try to figure something out. We'll put a lot of our brain power into get Ken to Oasis. But yeah, I saw some of that discussion as well. Like, people mostly, like 99.9%, extremely pleased with what they played, but there was a little bit of like, is this the nostalgia act tour for them? And it's like, yeah, like I don't think they're confused about that. Like, it's and it's a burden on all classic bands of like, what do we pick? And do we give them what they want to see, or do we give them what we feel the most passionate about? Do we play something new? But I think for them, there's a higher like emotional bar, because the feuding made this seem less possible than it did for like other classic bands. And it was funny seeing like people sharing like the old Liam post from when this was announced, where he was like, don't expect us to be like hugging on stage or anything like that. And then of course they were, and it's like it's cute to see that like all the bluster kind of went away on that first one.
Yeah. I think, and all the jokes of how long this is going to last, they're going to fight again. I honestly don't think that's going to be the case. I think this was, absolutely for money. Absolutely for, hey, after a while, we should just maybe give people what they want. But also, I think it was real. So it's fun. Good luck, Charlie. Have fun out there, my friend.
Yeah. Charlie, I hope you meet the love of your life at Oasis, because there's probably going to be a lot of beautiful people there with good taste. So I really hope that this is where it works out.
I want him to date. I want him to date Noel Gallagher's daughter. What's her name? Aeneas. I don't know how to
all
say
the Oasis kids. Yeah. Dave Mackay says, asks how much of the tours for the 30th of What's the Story. You would know that better in terms of like looking at the set list of like what
it's definitely
be.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be. It's a good mix of the big three albums, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff come out about the 30th. I just watched a video yesterday on the Oasis official channel, Noel Gallagher going track by track. It was actually pretty fascinating. So yeah, I think it's a good mix. It doesn't feel like it's just What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Okay, all right. So
all right,
that's about. I mean, we covered Epstein list. We covered Oasis. we
everything going on in the world.
It's just a different, covered
Sports
the floods.
Yeah.
It's this. What a world we live in, where I'm constantly oscillating between things that make me say that's so cool and things that make me say, oh, we're doomed as a society. And sometimes many of those things in the same day.
Yeah, there's a lot of doom happening. A lot of doom. Hey, but at least the false prophet in the White House did agree to send some weapons back to Ukraine. I can broken clock once a decade. All right, we're gonna get some movie talk. Dylan Barry says last week was 40 years of Back to the Future. Thoughts on that movie? Spectacular, perfect. Enjoy it. Love it.
My thoughts on Back to the Future are that it's really great, but it's not like one of my nerd things. Like, I think I've seen all of the movies a couple times each and not in years, so they're due for a rewatch.
Okay. Yeah, no, I secretly like 3 better than 2, and 3's. I don't know. I enjoy watching 3 sometimes a little bit more than the other ones, but but yeah, the first one, and also it was quite a movement. And I remember my mom and aunt went to see it, and they came home the opening night, and like we're telling my dad, and I heard like, oh my god, and there's a DeLorean, the greatest thing ever. So I remember
that was for one. That was for Back to the Future 1.
For one, yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And your mom, based on what I know of her, that's not Doesn't seem like something she would do.
Doesn't see Hollywood, won't support Hollywood,
Yeah.
us demons in LA here. But back then, yeah, it was even rare for that time. But yeah, her and my aunt went and had a good time. So that's what I remember. It was everywhere, man. It's a movement. But yeah, I understand too what you're saying. Like if it's not your thing, I have things I like, but don't do the deep dive on.
Exactly.
It's actually nice.
I acknowledge that it exists and it's important, and then I moved on with my life. Like it's kind of like that, which I also have with like Terminator. I also have that with like a couple other things of the sci-fi canon, the nerd canon. But one of those things is a film in 1978 called Superman.
Superman,
which I, up until Tuesday evening, would have considered to be the only great Superman movie. And I think Superman 2 is good. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought Superman 2 was pretty good. Terrence Stamp takes it from a good to a great as a watch. But then there are things in that movie where I'm like, 3 is, you watch it for Richard Pryor and then you move on and you never watch it again.
It's got the scary moment with the lady. Okay.
4 is bad. Superman Returns is boring as all hell. Man of Steel. Yeah, 06 with Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey.
Right.
So a great squad, great crew of guys on that picture.
Time. Yep.
And then Man of Steel, which has already been 12 years since that movie, which is insane. And Man of Steel, I think, is 2/3 a really good sci-fi movie. Okay. And now here we are, and I'm pleased to say, and again, this is a non-spoiler portion. We will put something on the screen when spoilers come up, so don't run away. We'll be fine. Okay. Superman, directed by James Gunn, someone I was already very much like in the pocket for. Like I'm a fan of the guy and his work. This is 7th feature. It is everything that I could have wanted. It's everything that I think DC fans probably want. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but it is probably the most DC movie to ever DC in the sense of like it feels right out of the gate, which is something that you touched on when you gave some non-spoiler thoughts of like they're just dropping you in, like no setup, no nothing, whereas like Marvel, it took a couple phases by design to get to the place of like, this is just a world where all this happens. We're already there. Like this is starting at DC phase 3 in a lot of sense. Like it's just like, again, non-spoilers, but like there is a scene that goes out of its way to show you that like there's an adventure happening in the background that we're not dealing with. Like it's not part of the story right now.
Right.
But it happens. Like superhero battles are as common as like hurricanes and tornadoes in this world. And I think that's a very smart play. And I love the performances and my general thoughts are that you cannot do better than David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan. You really can't. Insane casting. Holt as Lex, you described him as a wrestling heel, and it's so true. It's hate. Like not, he's got a good point, which sympathetic villains have their place, and that's very modern. But this is someone that is a disgusting person by design. Like there's nothing redeeming.
Yeah.
And very 2025.
You had said something. I want to talk a moment on that there too. You'd said something about Lex Luthor, but also just heroes in general, or villains in general. You said this off air, and you just kind of touched upon it now. That I think it's interesting. Yeah, I absolutely love a super well layered Killmonger, where at the end of the film you're like, maybe they have a point. Like I like that. I like exploring that stuff. I do think there's value in that. I think that's great art. But I also think for something like this, and for some maybe the times that we're in, I'm not saying that everything needs to be like this. I just like the choice that he is 2-dimensional by design. That is what evil is. That is it should feel empty and shallow. And he has a moment which, again, trying to avoid spoilers, but he has a moment where he kind of explains his point of view, and it is very shallow. It is very ego driven. And I think that was important to just have, this is the bad guy because he's making this choice to be bad. And we don't need to know why. It's like, I don't want, as much as, a young Palpatine saves the day series or whatever, get Tom Hiddleston as, I'd watch it. I'd watch it. I'd love it. But also at one point I came to the conclusion, I don't need to see Palpatine's origin story. He is evil embodied. but the embodiment of evil. So, and that's what's going on here with that. And I love that choice.
For sure. And because it's like, and logically with Palpatine or with Luther or with anybody, is there like the original sin? Is there the thing? Surely. You know, like the thesis of Star Wars is that there's always a choice. The thesis of Star Wars is that nobody is born dark. Like so I have no doubt that there's something, even if he was 3 years old, 4 years old, that did that to him.
Did that, yeah.
But for the arc, you know, like this Luther has things where you can like look in on his envy and his jealousy and his insecurity and his abuse of the people that work for him and things like that, where you can see the picture of the man. But for the story, it's hate for hate's sake. It's hate because you're not from here. I don't like all the things you can do, and I want you dead. It is just like unrepentant, gnarly hatred. And part of the reason why I've never connected with 78 as much as movie audiences have for decades is that while Hackman Lex is a classic performance, I think the take has no menace, and I've never been afraid of him. Like I've always thought that his Lex was kind of a joke. And he did exactly what he was asked.
He
did exactly what he was asked. But it's that sort of thing.
Yeah, Superman for me has long been the thing that I haven't been super interested in. So I don't have a lot of memory. I didn't see Man of Steel. I didn't see Returns. What a good choice for me to not see Returns and not have to be, you know, positive about that film back in the day. I knew what was going to happen. I did not know. I see what you're saying about that too. But I just really like that choice. That was one of my favorite choices. And look, I think the movie moves very fast. I've seen a couple descriptions as saying it is juggling, spinning a lot of plates, and therefore some plates are going to drop. And I do think some of that is true if you're looking at it from just a critical point of view. I think that's fair to say, and I want to say that there too. This is not even this film. I gloss over at a lot of superhero fighting. That's been something that's kind of been with me from the beginning with MCU and everything. So there's some of that for me, but they just lead with the characters so well here, and you're pulled in. It's charming, and the thing is, it's so goddamn charming. And from the dog on down, it's charming. And I think that's part of what we hear of this is what we needed right now is that charm.
I agree. It goes out of its way to be, you know, James Gunn has been using the word a lot. I've been using the word a lot. A lot of people have. It's Pollyanna. It's unabashedly cheese in a lot of ways. There are things about it that are intentionally the tropes that sometimes you would use to like denigrate the trappings of the superhero stuff. Like I again, not to spoil, but like it's not, a non-spoiler is that it's not as literal as he saves a cat out of a tree. However, there is a beat or two that is just like that. And that are intentional, like look at how much he cares about all life to the point where it's like, I think we went through a deconstructionist period of these iconic characters where we would present them, but it was never like 2 feet in it, whether that was for internalized embarrassment, which I do think is present even with greats like Nolan, who famously said like you'd have to chain him to his trailer before he put Robin in one of his movies. Right. You know, like he had to be convinced to give Cillian Murphy a scarecrow mask. Like there's that level of embarrassment. Then you look at Snyder, and I think it's more of a like, and again, he seems like a sweet man. Like him and James Gunn going on Rick and Morty to make fun of themselves this past week. Like, that he seems like a sweetheart. So it's like I'm not going after him, but like he's not the only one guilty of what I'm about to say. But there's a lot of post 9/11, like, can we handle the threats? Can we like so put upon? I have to brood because I don't know if we can handle the battles. Like all of that was in so much of a lot of these takes. And this movie is so not concerned with any of that. Like it really feels like a statement of like, we're past it, you know, like I'm sure there's an origin for this Clark's Superman suit. Doesn't matter. I'm sure there's does the S mean super? Is it a symbol of his family? Not addressed. Like, it doesn't matter. What matters is what this Clark is going through right now. And I think that And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to spoilers later. But like the way the movie opens tells you exactly, quite exactly the timeline, and tells you this is a Clark who's 3 years into his career, and it is a younger Superman's identity story, and that's what it is. And then around it, it's how does the world respond to his identity, which I think is all handled really well. There's obviously a lot of real world allegories. It has the while tonally sharing absolutely nothing with Andor, it has the same Andor predicament of like this screenplay could have been written this year. In terms of what's going on with the two fictional nations, despite them being fictional nations. Oh boy, it is. Oh boy, it is. Oh my goodness. This movie will not be opening at the AMC Tel Aviv anytime soon. It will not. Even the fictional president is, oh God, that guy from the nation of Moravia. It reminds me of someone.
he reminds me of two people. He reminds me of if they melded them together. You know, the false prophet and Bibby. They just a lot going on. And that's what I think's that's the unfortunate part of the world, right? This Superman is very relevant, but unfortunately, it was always going to be relevant, just like Andor was always going to be relevant. But I don't know. Well, I'm waiting to see. We know what the grifters are saying. They're already saying, but
they got started before the premiere.
Yeah. They get the playbook. They get the playbook. But yeah, no, absolutely. Love that, the politics of it.
Yeah, it played really well. We'll talk about a little bit of the resolution of it in spoilers, but the way that it emphasizes my takeaway from the movie was massive. And like I wrote a little review of it on Letterboxd. I don't give like star ratings or anything like that, but I said in what I wrote that I was buzzing so much that it was actually hard to articulate what I was thinking, because I'm coming out of the theater and just immediately typing at 1 million words a minute, because as someone that texts me, I can type.
I'm impressed that you're not using text to type, which is great, because it means you're also not putting up your Facebook thumbnail posts from text to type and not proofing them before you press play.
Sure.
I'm not making any direct references to anyone this week. You're a typer. You got Superman speed when you type on the phone.
I type very fast, and I don't
use, because I'm pretty fast, but
I'm a 2 thumbs, just 2 thumbs.
2 thumbser,
and okay. I don't use abbreviations or text language either.
Same. I don't either.
Commas, you don't. Yeah, we use commas. I use M dashes.
I'm a big M dash fan. And by the way, fuck this thing. Fuck this thing that's going on with the M dash. Well, that's a sign you use it. First, as someone who uses Perplexity to do my research, I've never seen an M dash in my AI. I'm an M dasher. I've been one for about 10 years with much consistency. You're not taking them from me.
No, this whole M dash is the sign of AI, because no, it's not, dude. No, it's not, because I use them all the time. I use them more now that I'm older, now that I understand it. Because I think when you're younger, you're intimidated by the M dash and the semicolon.
Well, for me, yes, the semicolon. But the M dash came late in life. It was a late in life for me. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm going to start wearing Converse and using what is this called? I like this. I thought I created it. I just was doing it on my own, because it's like I said, like, oh, people are doing this. Great. Anyways, side note.
I just followed you back, Dylan Barry. Anybody's welcome to follow me on Letterboxd at that moment deals. But yeah, I completely agree with you on that in the M dashes. And so I
Superman
did all these thoughts. Yeah, I unloaded all this stuff, and one of the like emotional things that really gets me about the movie, in a non-specific way, so don't worry about spoilers, anyone, is that Clark, by being Clark, makes everyone in the story around him better, which is not a new theme. That's not a revolutionary idea, but it was something that I guess, going into the film, there was so much talk about this is a movie about kindness. Like that was James Gunn's line.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially as Fox News was freaking out. He stayed in the pocket and was like, it's about kindness. That's universal to everybody. And then I was like, okay, so I guess again, just a little bit of expectations, which is never truly fair to bring into a movie, but you can't help it. I was like, maybe, you know, because I also, as a comic book reader, I was like, I know Guy Gardner's an asshole. I know that, you know, Lex is there. Like, I know, like, I was like, is Clark about to be surrounded by dickhead superheroes? And then, like, he's the only nice one? And it's not that. It's not that they're dicks. It's that the other superheroes are a little corporate. They're a little, you know, we just listen to our boss. We don't get involved. Like, what? It's not like a world of jerks and Clark is the only nice one. It's a world of good that could be great. And like, it's a world of people that like make a lot of good choices, but don't necessarily make them because of good. Like when he argues with Lois, and this is in the trailer, he argues with Lois and he says, I wasn't acting on behalf of anybody except for me, just on behalf of doing good. Like he takes everybody that like could be that and pushes them to that. And you know, and by the end you see a little bit of like, you know, the world's reaction, and some government characters that are like, how do we feel about them just kind of you know, and we'll talk about that. But like it is like such a great I can't help but bring Star Wars into it, partially because David Corenswet is a massive Star Wars fan. But this movie is Star Wars as hell in so many ways, where it's like, because these characters meet, they all get to be the best versions of themselves. And because of their friendships, it's not like Saturday morning cartoon in that sense, although it is in many senses, of like the power of friendship wins the day. The power of friendship doesn't win the day. They do have to kick some ass and do some investigative journalism and figure it out. They'll take action, but the power of friendship puts everybody in the position they need to be in, and like it gives everybody the opportunity. Clark does good, and it opens the door for everybody else to do good. And it's like, if you show up for the protest, you give people the visual confirmation that it's an okay thing to do. If you share a donation link and somebody that might have shared it and thought, am I just being annoying, spamming this stuff? Then they'll see, oh no, like Ken is sharing it, Alden is sharing it, you know, Michael McCarcel is sharing it, Tully's sharing it. It is going around. I should be a part of that. You know, like there's always that little, like, we talk about it a lot on this show, of like the evil permission that has been granted nowadays.
But the permission,
the opposite is true. The opposite is very true. And I think that that's all over this movie, of like, Clark gives Lois the permission to set aside some of her pessimism, whereas like Lois obviously is pure of heart and she has a lot of love, but like she can't help but be cynical. She can't help but think it can't all work out. And Clark's like operates in a way where he's like, I'm not stupid enough to think it all will work out. He's like, but we should operate as if it can. And I think that thematically is just exactly what the character is, and also could not have arrived at a better moment.
I love it. I love it. You get it well said. I think you tapped into what a lot of us are feeling, and you're at that permission structure is a powerful, important thing. Of we talk about it a lot in our real world, of permission to change your beliefs and maybe question something that you believed, or something that you thought, or some way you were raised. And I think, but what you're talking about in terms of just action and good, that's why, you know, the kindness is absolutely at the center of this film, the empathy and the caring. I just love that it's simple in its statement. This is a godlike metahuman who could, he's losing right now, but eventually he could find a way to win. He's got all these strengths. He's got, you know, the only thing that can stop him is a substance from off-world. He's powerful, but that means absolutely jack shit, absolutely nothing until, you know, unless you choose to care. And that is what politics is. Politics is us coming together to decide how to take care of the least of us. And empathy, kindness, and care absolutely need to drive all that. And that's why it's so wonderfully political beyond the connections to me. This is what I was saying online this week. Beyond the real world connections, there's plenty, including a hilarious explanation of trolls. But it's Superman's foot forward. That's the politics.
It is, yeah. We've talked about this a little bit on the show before, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But like, Superman has been criticized for years as a conceit and as a character of being too powerful. How can we relate to him, et cetera, et cetera? He's boring because he wins everything. but it's like it's
That was
not
me.
it's
I
not
said
a power
that
fan.
stuff. I said that
Yeah, no,
stuff
and a lot of us
when you
did.
were a wee little lad. I said it
A lot
on
of us did.
shows, on podcasts.
A lot of us
And
did,
I was
especially
wrong.
putting him down in favor of Batman. Is that was always
me.
the
I love
why is
Batman.
Batman better? Yeah, why is
Yeah.
Batman better? Because he's like me, because he can lose, because he's mortal,
Yes.
because of all of that. But it's like it's funny because it's actually in a lot of my favorite interactions with them is that like Clark is Batman's favorite superhero. You know, like that's canon, baby. Like Bruce has said, and I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, but he said like the difference between me and Clark is that he's fundamentally a good man, and fundamentally I'm not. Like he wishes that he could be that. And I think that it's because it's an altruism fantasy, not a power fantasy. Like in this movie, we get to see like all the things he's capable of, like you said, these godlike abilities. I will say, just filmmaking wise, I do like that Gunn still made him capable of getting his ass whipped. That was a welcome, not change, but like Gunn was careful to not make this a planet punching, spectacle. He gets bloodied, he gets bruised, he gets knocked down, and that's smart for movies. But just that, what really wows people is that he's always there, even when the world is turning on him, which is part of the story and has been part of many stories. Even when it's a small threat, when it's an international threat, when it's a sci-fi threat, whatever it is, he's there. And he says even to his own robots when he's only 80% healed, he's like, I got to get back out there. Like 80% has to be good enough right now. Like I have to go. And that's the thing. And you know, as we put in our title, the punk element of it too, which we haven't touched on yet, is so smart. And obviously this is very where the author comes in. Like James Gunn comes from the punk scene. He used to make alt, trauma, kink, fetish, shock movies and books when he was young. He was in a punk band called the Icons. They're on Spotify. You can check it out. And he has always had his foot in that. And then I think, you know, with the Guardians movies, because he made those soundtracks, what the characters would logically have, I think people sort of like thought he's like, oh, he's an oldies guy. And like he is too. But this movie was him like firmly planting his flag in, I'm now cemented enough as a director that I can talk about what punk is. And to pick Superman to do it is so smart. Because it's like, it makes no sense, but it makes all the sense. And when they have conversations about it in the movie, very directly, it's like
very directly
positioning it as if society. Ken, I'm about to blow your mind. Get ready for this. Get ready for this connection.
Do I need to put up the? Do I need to do this yet?
No.
Do I need
you
to
don't
do
need
that?
to do that. Not a spoiler.
Okay.
I mean, spoilers for the Book of Boba Fett, I guess, because I'm about to make a connection that you will love. When you have a society that is X, punk is going Y. You know, if they go right, you go left. If they go left, you go right. Like punk is not an aesthetic in the way people think it is. They think punk is nose rings and plaid and spikes and all that. And like it was and it has been. But what punk really is counter. Punk is against the grain. Like punk is not you, whatever you is. And so that's something that y'all talked about a lot on Force Center correctly about why the colorful Vespas in Book of Boba Fett work. It's not because you have to like that look. No one's telling Star Wars fans you need to like the Vespas, but they make sense as being punk because Tatooine is brown and boring. They would not be punks on Coruscant.
Right.
They would not work there. It's because of what society is. Society is brown and dry and beige and brown and hot and all of that. So color pop becomes punk. And in Superman's world, allowing Lex Luthor to run wild, allowing Maxwell Lord to have his corporatized heroes, allowing people to believe propaganda, allowing people to get on whatever fictional DC Twitter is and say hashtag super shit, like allowing all of that as that becomes the norm of this world. Punk is showing up for people. Punk is saving an animal. Punk is, encouraging your girlfriend to be less cynical. punk is hearing someone say your favorite band sucks and then kindly saying, hey, a lot of people like them. Like, that's punk. The whole movie is saying it is not just helpful to care, which I think a lot of superheroes have covered. This movie is saying it's cool to care. Like, I wish that I could be a kid watching this, because this is like telling kids like it's good to share sometimes doesn't land on them. But if you tell them like it's actually really cool and kind of badass to look out for people, that's what the movie says. And it's like, it's so obvious, but I mean, evidently not obvious enough, because it left all of us like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, excellent breakdown. Good use of the Vespas. Yes, in the conversation, yeah, we'll slight.
We're gonna put the slight warning up now.
Okay, we'll just put it up now. Yeah, the conversation between him and Lois about punk is fun, and it's one of those like, oh, here we go, James Gunn of music, and Noah and the Whales, 5 years time, is featured in a great scene, one of my favorite songs for years. So I love all that. But you're absolutely right. It is the perspective of the film. It is the message. It is the punk is carrying is exactly what's at the center of it. And you're absolutely right. The younger generation finding this, and if they're seeing what's on screen, and then they look on the news and they see kind of the same thing. Hopefully, my hope is that they too will take away the lesson that Superman's trying to not even put out there. He's just being himself, right? He's just being himself, as you said. That's the lesson. He's not pointing. He's not lecturing. He's just doing what he needs to do. And I think that's why I love this movie so much. That's why I hope it connects with folks. I think it will.
I'm sorry. I'm just responding in the chat. Good question, honestly, here. Asking, Dylan Berry asked spoilers in the chat. I'm saying don't spoil in the chat for safety's sake, but feel free to like give us a topic and we'll open it up, and just in case. I don't want anybody to click and see it immediately in the chat, just because we don't know when people are joining the conversation. But well said on all that, especially like kids will see this, go home, and then who knows what their parents turn on, and then they might see something like this, and they might say like, oh, he's like Lex Luthor, like you don't know the connections that they'll make.
Yeah, they're gonna look out, and I'm not speaking about 5-year-olds. I think maybe it's the mythical 12-year-old that George is always speaking to, but you're gonna turn on the TV and you're gonna see Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor exists many times over, and you're gonna see that. And you're going to feel the monkeys on the trolls machines there. You're going to feel all that. And so that's very much a movie speaking to what's going on. And I think that's inspiring to me, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got spoiler tag up. Let's talk some specifics.
Yeah. Take me through it. What's your favorite moments? Where do you want to go?
I want to start right at the top of the movie. Again, audio listeners, spoilers from here on in. Visual watchers, as you can read right there, Superman spoilers. One of my first feelings in the film was elation and vindication for Ron Howard fans, Willow and Solo, because this has a true blue Star Wars Willow mini crawl, but with one of the most clever breakdowns of one that I've seen maybe ever. Of 300 years ago, humanity became aware of metahumans. 30 years ago, an alien baby from Krypton landed. 3 years ago, he revealed himself as Superman. 3 hours ago, he stopped a war. 3 minutes ago, he lost a fight. I was like, wow, that's one of those moments where you could feel James like at the typewriter, just like I would be happy to come up with that. Like that, it's so immediately like, okay, damn, like, okay, here we are. Like, and especially the 30 years ago a baby landed is sort of like you all know the story of Christ, you all know the story of Harry Potter, Batman, all this. Like what we said, like we don't need it. But when they do bring it in, because Jor-El and Lara, his parents, do play a huge role in the story with minimal screen time. It was one of those things where I felt myself not come out of the movie, but I felt myself and part of it is a nerd thing of just being like, that's not what it usually is. You know, I was like, oh. Bradley Cooper, first of all, Jarrell, love seeing Bradley Cooper. I'm a Bradley Cooper guy. But when they do a thing that has been touched on in the comics, and like it's different versions of it has happened, of Jarrell being an asshole, but this one is very overt that the Kryptonians were, or at least the House of El. I should stress, there is no determination about Krypton, but his family at least were conquerors in some way, or thought they could be or should be. And there have been versions of that where propaganda says that and it's not true, or Clark thinks it and it's not true. They go out of their way to tell you it's true in this movie. Both Mr. Terrific and Lex independently confirm for the audience, this has not been doctored. This footage is real. Like, you know, all that. And I was like, whoa, I don't know how I feel about that. But then they earn it, man. Because at the end, when Alan Tudyk, not K2, is like, you know, do you want us to play the footage of your parents to make you feel better? And he says, yes. And they pan out and it's all the Kent videos with Iggy Pop, with Punk Rocker playing another great drop. And it like made me realize like what this movie is. And this is something you can only really talk about in spoilers. Like what this movie is about synthesis. Like I do understand. I've seen already from very smart people who I like and respect a lot. Some of them friends that have said, I don't like the potential idea that this is predicated on confirming people's fears about the immigrant alien. And like, I get that. But at the same time, as a Puerto Rican person who's lived in Florida for most of my life, I can tell you my family is actually shitty despite what we've gone through is a real thing that a lot of people have to deal with. And I think that like what it is at the end is not a rejection of Krypton. And I'll be curious how you feel about this too, because your family obviously has immigrant history like related to like war and like real cataclysmic events. But like it felt to me like synthesis, like the future of Krypton is whatever Clark is. And like it's taking the fortress and the robots and the dog and a certain other member of the family and saying, yeah, all of this, and yeah, maybe they had a vision for what I was supposed to be, but we're gonna inject Kansas values into that. I'm gonna inject my actual parents that raised me into that. It's like I'll take what I want from being Kryptonian and move it forward. And I love that. I get why people will bristle. Like, imagine if you found out that like Owen and Beru Lars owned slaves on Tatooine. Like, I know that obviously Beru was an abolitionist. Trust me, you don't have to. Nobody jump at me in the comments for suggesting such a thing. But I get it. I get why that would be like uncomfortable for people. Or like if you found out that like Bruce Wayne's parents were like MAGA Republicans. Like I get it.
I mean, they probably were. Let's be honest, they probably were.
But yeah, I think it came down on it in a really classy way. And apologies, by the way, if anybody can hear noise. There's thunder and rain, and the dog's not like it. So
it's all good. No, I like the choice, and I'm not steeped in the comic book lore, so I'm just taking it as I see it, and I thought it was not only a good twist, but I thought it's about definitely ties into themes, and it's kind of that choice over programming theme I love so much, where you know it's not even about destiny at this point, but like you said, it's we are who we want to be, we are who. You know, when you look at our experiences that lead us forward, and you pull from everything, and it's not just, you know, he could have hung his head, and you know, I no doubt that the character at that point is not going to be like, well, I got to go rule you, but the fact that it was a truth, the fact that it wasn't doctored, I thought was my favorite thing about it, that he had to deal with it, that he had to find out who he really is after that truth was important. Yeah, and I understand maybe some people want to do what you said, connect it, you know, the confirmation thing. Yeah, but
and again, I can see it, but for me, it is a literalist take. Like, for me, it falls into like the Jedi or the cops sort of stuff, where it's like there's elements, but like that does not. It's not a 1-to-1 for me. Yeah, I get it. I get it, but like I think that it's way more Hercules for me. It's way more mythic. Like Zeus is a fucking asshole in most interpretations and iterations of Greek myth. And I think for this, Jor-El, first of all, many iterations have him as prickly and sometimes outright manipulative jerk. It is the generally accepted take that Marlon Brando played, that Russell Crowe played, that he sends baby Clark to Earth with the my son, you can teach them a better way, you can do all this stuff, blah blah blah. Right. That's always there. So I know people are married to that, like, mythologically. I get it. But I'm excited to see what happens as we learn more about them, because there is a Supergirl film next year where her parents are in the movie. So maybe flashback. I could, who knows what they'll do, because we could get the next movie and then suddenly we see Krypton and it is mostly gray and only Jor-El's an asshole. So it's like, you never know. You never know. He could be a radical. There's so many things you could do with it. Again, we're still in the spoiler section. So again, I'm gonna warn everyone. If you stuck through that, I'm serious. What we're about to say is gonna be big, because I have to ask Ken about his standout character of the movie. This character's only in it for about 60 seconds. And that is Millie Alcock as Kara Zor-El, Supergirl. Big laugh in the theater, big cheer when she came in. Yeah, people loved her. How did you feel about this character who you really don't have any experience with, only as an actor because of House of the Dragon? Do you know her?
No. I hadn't seen, the only thing I know about Supergirl is that there was a really bad movie in the 80s. I have no knowledge of the character beyond that. Couldn't even tell you the name after you just said it. But it was a surprise. It played well in the press screening, which is sometimes hard to do. Yes, and it's a setup, but it was just like, I wasn't expecting that. This kind of drunk party girl who loves her dog and goes to parties on red sun planets. I love everything about it. I love the energy. It wasn't just funny. It was different for me. As a casual superhero fan, it was something, I'm immediately invested in the character, immediately on board with this character. So yeah, absolutely. I told you it was my favorite character in the movie, which is kind of a cheeky answer. Sure. Quite frankly, Superman's probably my favorite character in the movie. Also, Lois Lane. Also, Beck Bennett is on the sports desk. Loved all that.
Beck Bennett.
And the most beloved SNL cast member behind the scenes ever. I just loved it. It was a big surprise at the end of the movie. I'm not talking in terms of just, ooh, she's here, but just it was in this kind of somber but hopeful ending. Suddenly this loud music showed up, and it just played so well for me. Love it. Can't wait. I'm invested, and I'm immediately like, yep, I want to follow that character for a movie. Yeah,
and a tiny bit of her performance that you get, it immediately has so much personality that, like, thanks for watching them, bitch. Just like the little, like, the comedy of contrast of, like, Clark, who has been through everything that he's been through. And the thing that stresses him out the most is his cousin, who, you'll probably enjoy this detail, Ken, and I'm sure they'll get into it in the movie. She is both his younger and his older cousin. She is physically older than him, but in the process of being sent to Earth, there's some sci-fi shenanigans where he lands as a baby and she gets stuck as a teen. And so there's related to the trauma and like all that. So they'll get into all that. But like, it is his older, younger cousin that clearly does not have her shit together. And I think it's a great sort of like, oh, did you think we were going to give you like Superman, but he's a girl now?
Yeah. No, completely different.
Absolutely.
Played well.
Other standouts. Go ahead. I was going to ask you.
I just wanted, because I love that opening too. You talk about the crawl. It really does a good job to set the tone and kind of explain what you're about to get into, right? Not only we're not doing an origin, but we're jumping in the middle. We're getting right there. And the fact that, we'd all seen in the trailer that, he was in the snow and Crypto shows up. The fact that was the beginning was one of my favorite things, because I didn't want to, we as society don't want to go through this again, right? It's like, we know what happened to Batman and we know how Superman got here. Let's just deal with the aftermath. Let's deal with this. I loved it. It was a great way to start. And absolutely, you got this character that someone like me has spent most of his life and most of his podcast life saying, not a huge Superman fan. He's too strong, too boring. Luke Skywalker was also the boring guy in Star Wars too. I liked Han Solo. That was part of that kind of view. And here he is on the ground, on the snow, beat up, just lost. That's a wonderful spot to start with this classic character. So I love that beginning. Wanted to highlight that we were just there, and that leads into one of my other favorite things. You can talk about that if you want, but so then we get this relationship with Lois and Clark, and they definitely played with it because the first time they meet, you're kind of like, oh, is this going to happen? But the fact that it's already happened, continually.
Does she know? Does she know he's all
you're
that.
playing it, and they play it. It's an intentional scene. We got the glasses on, glasses off, but she knows. I just love that, man. It just absolutely felt like what I don't know, not necessarily what I wanted, but like I didn't want to have to go through the origin, man. I didn't, and so we're here, and therefore we get to deal with them at this point in their relationship, and that allows us to do different things with the story. So love, and Rachel Brosnahan, perfection. Loved everything about it.
And just good relationship writing. Like the whole, screenplay 101 stuff of like a good argument, like everybody's right. I've heard Fincher say that a lot. Like I love arguments where everybody's right. And it's like, yeah, that's that 10-minute scene. You get a 10-minute dialogue scene in a fast movie with a lot of punching and powers. It stops right here to just give you everything you need about the people. And they're both so valid in how they're feeling. And you get to see in that Lois is just as committed to her form of being a hero as he is to his form of being a hero. And that in a time of like, in a 2025 where like nothing fucking matters, and we can have stories that we talked about at the top of this episode where we could just be like, no, the truth is whatever we say today. Right. To have Lois Lane be relevant, because I've seen that too, of like writers have struggled with it, fans have struggled with it. Does the Daily Planet even make sense anymore? Would anybody give a shit anymore? It's like, first of all, you could just make a world where print still matters. We can make, which is what this is. Print is clearly thriving in this world. Everybody's got a copy on the Daily Planet. But they handled her as a journalist so well, as a former punk girl, like she says, as a pouring all the sugar in her coffee. I thought she was a huge success. Crypto, I mean, there's not much else to say. Like, James Gunn never misses with an animal or a creature. And Crypto's one of his best. He's funny. He's used enough. And he's also, one thing I liked about him, he has a dog intelligence, which like sometimes people make Crypto too smart for my liking. I like that Crypto legit like function like one.
Yeah, he's a dog. Yeah.
Absolutely. He's rambunctious. He's a little stupid sometimes. He's a little he's annoying at times. Love that. And also rambunctious and stupid and sometimes annoying is Guy Gardner, who is a character who I thought Guy Gardner's a risky character, man. As you have now seen how dumb this could have been, like the bowl cut and the bad attitude and the drinking his glass of milk and just like being a shithead but still a believable hero. It's like credit to Nathan Fillion, because he's really good at that. He's really good at that.
I thought he nailed it, man. I thought it was a great choice. I loved everything about them. It's so fun. It was funny, man. It was just, this movie's so goddamn funny in those parts, and got big laughs. Did the crowd react to them all pretty well?
Yeah, our crowd was really in it, and I was surprised because I live in Central Florida, like near Orlando, but like it's a horse town. Like this is the horse town in the state, and it's like people got a lot of ranches and things like that. I've been to maybe one or two packed theaters in like 3-4 years of living here, and so I was shocked that this Amazon Prime members only Tuesday early screening was full. There were Superman shirts throughout, and there was 2 different kids that I saw with action figures in their hands.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, something's happening. Like, in as much as this like red town can like have this, it's happening here. And it was a crowd. Yeah, they reacted to everything. It was also an inside baseball crowd, because like they popped for John Cena on the conservative talk show, like as Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Well, that's one of the things, and this isn't. We'll keep the spoilers up here for a couple more scenes, but just seeing the reaction and seeing who in my own life is giving this a 9 out of 10, or I enjoyed it, or it was great. And just taking it for what it is, and not even worried about the deep themes or the politics or anything. That's offered encouragement for me. That I want this movie to do well. I want the industry to do well. Trust me, I live in a ghost town right now. Large part of that is because of ICE. Thank you. But in terms of the industry, it's dying, and so I want this to do well. I want Fantastic Four to do well. But sometimes these films, I feel, can just do well because the juggernaut rumbles on. But people seem to have actual joy for this film, and that's been encouraging. And kind of what you're talking about, all across the board.
Yeah. People are reacting to this like with a sense of like not being afraid to be sincere. And Birthday Boy, I know it's been a day, but I'm still going to say Birthday Boy Ken Bloom is here, saying great things about both Gen X and about Nathan Fillion being this generation's Bruce Campbell, which, holy shit, that is a great read on what his powers are as an actor. I think that's very true. Ken Bloom shared a great story where like his theater lost power.
Yes,
2/3 of the way through, and then he went out into the parking lot and there was a rainbow. And I was just like, that's like so perfect for this movie. Like it feels like it's giving people again permission to say, man, it felt really good to like smile for 2 hours. And like, you don't have to qualify that. Whereas with so many other things that we love, Star Wars, there's always this like need to qualify love that I hate. That's one of the Alden Diaz things that I fucking hate is it wasn't perfect, but I really like, you don't need to say that. It's useless language. That is you trying to meet the word count because you're afraid that people will call you insincere or will call you cringe or call you cheesy. And like this is a movie that's like, hey, we're saving everybody. We're saving the squirrels. We're saving the dog. We're saving the city. We're saving the universe from this black hole. We're punching the villains, but also saying like, you don't have to listen to Luther. Like you don't have to do this. Like it's trying to give everybody a chance to just be. And last couple spoiler things. Yeah, we have to mention Pa Kent, and Martha too. But Jonathan Kent gets the scene, of the second act as before we move into the third, and it's like that. We're at our lowest. Dad, I don't know who I am. I'm sitting on the porch. I'm eating cereal. I fucked up, Dad. It's all over. And he comes out and does the whole It's so classic, but it's so needed. And it's beautiful. Nikki Kumar made a great point, who I was talking about it with, of course. And he was like, no disrespect to, Kevin Costner or anyone else who's played the role. But I'm so glad that this was not a handsome older star. Like Pruitt is a character actor. You believe he's a farmer. And for him to just say like, parents ain't for telling their kids who they're going to be, Clark. I was just like, he's so right, Pocket. I cried 4 times in this movie, guys. Yeah. That was one of them.
The Mom Paquette were played both wonderfully and interestingly.
I know you were saying they were almost too bumpkin-y, almost.
Yeah, no, I have a little rub up against, I guess it was maybe broad strokes at first, to the point where I was like, is that Pruitt Taylor Vince? What's happening here? And he started speaking. I was like, what are they? Oh my God. Oh no. Okay. No, they're not going that direction. So, but I'm not saying that in a negative way. It was just like an observation. It was like, okay, it's different, but they found the heart. They found where they needed to get, and it pays off in the sequence at the end with where we're showing the memories and everything, which was beautiful, and had the same vibe and reaction in me that I just rewatched Barbie last week. The scene where she sits on the bench when she first gets to our world and kind of sees everything that she maybe hasn't experienced yet and is moved. And I remember crying in the theater the first time. That caught me by surprise. This one at the end of the film had the same kind.
And can I just say, have you ever? There's a Greta Gerwig interview where she talks about screening the movie for Warner Brothers. That's the scene that Warner Brothers wanted to cut because, of course, they were like, can we cut that thing with Barbie sitting on the bench with the old lady? And Greta Gerwig was like, that's the fucking movie.
That's the movie.
I will not do that.
No.
Anyway, but yeah, that's a very good comparison of like highlighting and underlining. This is what it is. You know, it's James Gunn being like, if you didn't get it, let me get these home videos in right at the end. But in a good way.
Yeah.
Last thing before we drop the spoilers, I just want to say a celebratory moment for pulp sci-fi. Superman is always sci-fi by default because he's an alien, but the movies have never felt as sci-fi as this ever. It is so 1950s, what we call the Silver Age of comics, where everything was like as big and as colorful and as dumb and as loud as it possibly could be. The second act sequence of breaking out of the pocket universe prison with Metamorpho, who I loved. He's such a great sad character. Love that guy. It's the gentleman from Barry, Anthony Carrigan, I think his name is. And he plays Metamorpho. And it's a great streak of not stopping to explain it because it doesn't fucking matter. Of like, that's my son. That little green baby alien is your son. Okay, like. Why do you with a white blonde woman as your wife and you being you have a green set? Who cares?
Worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. That whole sequence above the river pie and the universe and everything, and the Mr. Terrific bots who got that great musical sequence, like you said, with the Noah and the Whale, the Noah and the Whale track. Like everything about that whole middle portion is just like. The age of being embarrassed is over. It's done.
Yeah.
We love The Dark Knight. We love The Dark Knight. We love Begins. Yeah, some of us love Rise. Like, it's not that those are bad movies. It's just like we're finally free. The audience has caught up. And in a time when some of our beloved Star Wars, I will say, has been knocked for similar embracings of genre. I will say that it was nice to see everybody celebrate a movie that is just as wild. And I now am like, oh yeah, maybe the audience would be okay with seeing like The World Between Worlds in a movie or like Mortis in a movie. Because like we just did pocket universes because of an Elon Musk billionaire having a prison where he keeps his girlfriend and all his big ass monkey machines. Yeah. And everybody said, okay. So we're there.
We're there, baby. No, glad you're saying all the right things about it, and it's just been fun. And like I said, I'm not super invested in this stuff, and now I feel I almost am because I want to get behind what this movie has to say. So, no more spoilers for me. Should we take it down?
Yeah, spoiler section is over. Putting that in the comments here because I know some people had us up. Thankfully, keeping us with our viewership. But just muting the video. Very kind of all of you to just mute. Now I have a question for the over 30s and over 40s. What's a stogie? I don't know what a stogie is.
Yes.
What's a stogie?
This is a fake cigarette I use for anxiety. But a cigarette.
A stogie is a cigarette? A cigar?
A cigar? No, a cigar.
I didn't know that. I've never heard the term stogie for a cigar ever in my life. I swear.
You're not this young.
I'd never heard it before. I swear to God.
Smoking a big fat stogie?
I'm glad that everybody else.
Big fat stogie.
I'm glad that everybody else knew. Everybody else in the chat said it's a cigar. No idea. I was like, I read that from Ken Plume. I said, stogie. Was that like a sweater vest?
Beautiful.
Like, what the fuck is a stogie?
Hey, we all learned. I have to sit here and learn all the new terms you youngsters are coming up with. So I'm glad you. Look. Oh, come on. Even Brady beat you. You know Brady's still learning what most of the '80s are. So
Well, Brady uses public transit. So like Brady's probably like talking to all the old timers like on the train.
Yeah, he's probably heard
all that.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Even Brady. Yeah. No, I swear, Tully, I didn't know.
That's great.
Again, we did a long spoiler section. Encourage all you all to go back and listen to our thoughts if you want. We might. I don't know if there's going to be future Superman discussions. Who knows? But
we'll give it a little bit.
Non-spoiler conclusion would be everybody go check it out. bring the kids around you if you can.
Bring the kids. Bring your Republican dad. We talked about that with Steve yesterday. And
Yeah,
and have conversations about it. But I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is a lesson in caring, a lesson in wanting to help,
It
and
is.
seeing what's going
It
on in
is.
the world. If you're watching ICE rip people out of hospitals, going to appointments, or out of the fields in Camarillo, and you think that's helping, and that's how the way to use power, maybe we'll have some conversations about it. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to be too hopeful. But so far, so good. One day in. We're just one day into this film being out in mass, and it's already been a good, fun trip. To see the crowd
It's it'll be interesting to see in a couple weeks. Fantastic Four, like riding the wave again. They're different. Like it's like it because of optimism they've been paired, and because of timing. But like obviously they're different. Like the Superman takes place now, in its fictional world. Fantastic Four is a '60s film, so it has a vintage quality to it that is maybe more looking backward. But still, I think for family and all that,
You excited for that one? Excited for that picture?
I am, because for the same a lot again reasons why they're harmonious in their release.
Yeah.
Also, a property that I think has never been done right, but Fantastic Four, like people forget because of the dominance of like Marvel, with Stark being like the cornerstone. So like he's not the cornerstone of Marvel. Spider-Man was not until much later the cornerstone of Marvel. The Marvel universe starts with Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. And they were the first family for a reason. And not that being first means you're like owed treatment, but like it's just like, how have we not gotten this? Like we had the Incredibles in 2004, which already nailed this idea of a superhero family. And I'm on board, obviously, with Pedro Pascal, especially. I know he's started to circle into that, like people are saying, oh, he's overexposed or he's whatever. And you know what? When it comes to Pedro Pascal's overexposed, my thought is this: he didn't break through until he was over the age of 40. So he's fucking owed, as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad for somebody being 50 and at the top of their not just acting game, but on top of their like sex appeal rock star game.
Thank you. I'm almost there. No, I know people who were friends with him when he slept on their couches. Like I actually have friends in my life who knew him in that way. And it's not always going to be there. So write it. When you're on that short list of casting, get it, take it, make your money, but also make your mark. And he's doing it. So I'm excited. Cool. I think we're ready to start to wrap it up for today. But exciting stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Again, rooting for movies, and then it'd be fun to have a little bit of two big movies taking us through the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And for them to be embraced for what they are. You see a lot of people in the same way you said, like people that in your life that are either more cynical or just more checked out, like loving Superman. I've seen a lot of posts that have emphasized like, wow, to have like the immigrant story of like coming to Earth and like trying to make it a better place. And then the family story of like trying to push and go beyond and ensure the future. And like, they're both covering like all these things that are one big great stew that I'm excited about. Steve had a super chat before he left. He had to leave, but let me pull it up here. He wrote,
he's going to see the film.
Have a good weekend all. Hoping to see Superman. Can't stick around, but we'll catch later. Has Gunn said what the next movie is in this universe? I could Google it, but asking y'all is more fun. He has. The next movie is Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock. So that's next year. And then after that will be a DC horror movie called Clayface, who is one of the Batman characters. So those are the next two.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that because my movie talking days are behind me, but a lot of fun talking about it with you. We're going to slide out of here for now. Thank you all. I think normal next week. I think I might be out one of the Fridays in July. I'll let you all know. Don't you worry. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you, buddy, for getting to all the juicy, sweaty stuff there. Appreciate you.
Yeah. That's what I do. It's always there. It's always there happening. It just needs the right outlet.
Well, this is the outlet, my friend. This is the outlet. Thank you all. We'll see you anytime. Bye.